I've got Trevor Penn, who's our Director of Finance, has joined us on this, as well as Fay Langmaid. So they might be able to add and give some more specifics to some of the things that we're doing. So I would take you back to March 11th at the Regional Committee of the Whole. Dr. Kyle presented to us, and at his presentation there, and this is just a couple of weeks ago, the message was, don't panic, but take this thing seriously. We found ourselves 2 days later shutting down the arenas and the library. That's how quickly things changed. And quite frankly, for the next 2 weeks after that, the pace of change was absolutely phenomenal. And I'll take the opportunity, and if you have the opportunity to reach out to our senior staff, they were working 12, 14-hour days, literally for about 2 weeks in a row, just getting in place the things that we needed to get into place. And we were suffering to a degree from the same thing that I'm sure all of you were suffering from, and that is not so much the virus, but this constant flow of information that carries on today, almost information overload. And as we had the federal and the federal government and the provincial government responding, and the region trying to keep up with all of the stuff that needed to be done and was done. But if you imagine it all trickling down, our guys were exceptionally busy, and I'm so very proud of an amazing job that they've done here. So we went from March 11th, where we were watching closely what was going along in the world, to where we are right now today. So we're pretty much at a standstill. I think it's 1:30 today. The Premier is going to be addressing the province. We expect to see further restrictions on, well, we know we're going to see further restrictions on what essential businesses are and are not. And we may see further restrictions on the ability of public getting in and about. And I'll suggest that difficult choices that the province is making, difficult things that we're doing, everything that we do tries to encourage community to come together. We build all of this stuff to bring people together, and now we're trying to figure out how to keep everyone apart, still together at the same time, and dealing with frustration. And we know that the frustrations are going to grow over the next few weeks. We know that this is not going to go away really quickly. So we're going to ask each and every one of you to help us. And as Canadians, we have these deep reserves of courtesy and kindness, and we are really, really going to have to draw on those reserves. So in terms of Clarington, we were a little bit ahead of the curve in terms of closing the rec centers and libraries. The playgrounds, the same sort of thing, and this is difficult if you've got young children, if you know people with young children. We don't know how long the virus will stay on playground equipment, which is why the province moved ahead. We understand the challenge with people wanting to congregate, but the only way we're going to get this thing under control is if people stop congregating. I think you've all heard that Durham Region Police, as well as bylaws, has the authority to charge people. We don't want to do that, but consistently we're seeing that somewhere between 8 and 10% of the population, are simply not getting the message. Whatever you can do to help us get that message out is really, really important. We have closed as you know, the admin building. So if you need to get in for a license or whatever, book an appointment. We have a screening process in place. We've got hand sanitizer at the front door that you've got to use coming in, but that does not mean that the town is shut down. So while our rec facilities are shut down, while the library is shut down, we are carrying on business here. We have redeployed staff to continue doing business. And in a lot of ways, we are talking with Faye Langmaid in planning, and Anne Greentree and clerks, things that we have not been able to get to, digitizing all kinds of documents, stuff that we know that we've needed to do. This is actually giving us an opportunity to get through some of this and to catch up. We are following the same attitude that the province is on this, and that we want to keep staff employed and we want to keep staff as busy as long as we can do that, and hopefully all the way through this. So, laying a whack of people off is not going to be helpful to the economy as we get out of this. We've got to learn from past experience, and you're seeing stimulus happening all the way down. And the vast majority of municipalities, the province, is certainly on a parallel course with that, making sure that as much as possible we keep that going. And that includes tenders going out. It includes, again, we've got to see what essential businesses can and cannot operate. But that includes where permits have to go, letting permits go. And it includes us scratching our heads and looking at what opportunities exist, and we're going to have to continue to work with the Board of Trade. Are there products and services that we can contract for now, and are there ways in which we can do this that'll keep businesses going that otherwise aren't open to the public, aren't able to get things out of the door? I'd suggest Peterborough has, and I'm not sure whether it's their chamber or BIA, has launched a program on gift certificates. I know with some businesses this is a great thing, and other businesses it just might compound problems moving forward, where you've had cash, you've needed that to pay for bills, and now you need to provide a whole whack of things. But I think we need to take a look at that. I would laugh in that if 3 weeks ago staff saw me shutting doors and talking to my computer, they would have been deeply disturbed. And this is how I'm spending the vast majority of my time the last few weeks, is sitting at a desk and talking to my computer. And my treadmill at the end of the day is thoroughly enjoying it. I will encourage all of you, if you Google and Sheila, you could probably put this up later. I know it's on your website. If you Google Invest Durham COVID, Durham Region, working with the ECDEV offices right across the municipality, have tried to do a sort of a one-stop page access where you can find the information that you need to find on COVID. Durham Region has a COVID page, as does Clarington. Those pages are updated daily, so I would encourage you to quickly take a look at those pages. We are looking at things like, we've got a committee meeting on Monday. That meeting is streamed. We are struggling a little bit with what constitutes a public meeting, so the public are encouraged ahead of time, if they've got questions or comments, to bring those in. We're looking at how the public can participate, and we are in fact anticipating that the province will change the rules over what constitutes a public meeting. And again, this flows through a desire to continue operations going. So if you need a building permit, can we get that done? If you need a rezoning, can we get it done? If you can carry on your business by virtue of that today, wonderful. When this passes, can you get a shovel in the ground or make the changes that you need to make immediately? Yes. So again, we want to enable as much as we can the economy and your businesses continuing to go ahead. There will be some interesting outcomes of this, interesting and good outcomes. So we are looking, even in my office, we figured out that we can do things digitally that we used to do on paper. This has forced us to do it. So we are respecting physical distancing rules. And smack me upside the head, guys, if social distancing, I want to stop using that, because we need to bring We need to bring each other together in this. We don't need to distance each other socially. We do physically, absolutely. But we are respecting that. So if you come in the offices, we have retasked office space where people were in closer proximity. Anywhere where people are able to work from home, and there are a number of cases where they can do that work from home, they are doing so. The meeting that we are having on Monday, Anne and I will be sharing an office, and the clerk with the appropriate physical distancing. Counselors will be participating online, similar to a fashion like this. It'll be a learning experience running meetings like that. And I can tell you that at Durham Region, the same thing will be happening. There's a special council meeting that is going on Wednesday. At the last council meeting, a number of authorities were delegated to staff and the chair to enable the region to move ahead on some things that otherwise would need council votes. And a lot of this is focused on getting resources where resources have to happen. I think you've got one of these conferences set up with Chair Henry. I'll leave that up to the chair to deal with. But there are some good things. They say out of challenges come opportunities, and this is one of them. We'll be looking from our point of view. I've got to learn how to do PowerPoints, so you can actually see some information in front of you and access those PowerPoints. And we're asking the question as to why we couldn't make these happen on a regular basis, maybe once a month, the ability for my office to reach out. And I'm seeing that my internet connection is unstable. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So I just had a warning come up. Thank you, Sheila. So one of the things that come out is why wouldn't we do these on a regular basis and maintain connection with the business community once we're through the pandemic, and once we've better embraced technology that we probably all should have embraced. I'm saying that for myself. We all probably should have embraced a while ago. And I'll stop here. I will encourage you where you can help. So as best I know, the food banks in Clarington are doing all right. I am hearing from colleagues in Pickering and Oshawa, and Feed the Need is integral to so many of them, that the food banks really need help. Let us know. I'm getting a number of requests from service organizations and volunteers asking how they can help. That is oddly a difficult thing to do with the physical distancing, and we'll see what the Premier comes up with. But I can tell you that community care is looking for help on delivering food. So in a lot of cases, the seniors cannot get out of the house, or anyone that's in self-isolation and quarantine. So community care is looking for help. Caremongers is a group that has been created in Durham Region. They are doing the same sort of thing. And again, the food banks. I've got to talk with our staff to see if we can get a page with contact information for those and for other groups that are looking for help. And in all of the three that I'm mentioning, they will do training with you, and whatever work you are doing is being done with the appropriate physical distancing rules in place. So you're trained and you're doing things in a safe manner on that. So I'll leave that. We're going to hear some stuff back. I will encourage all of you. The best email to get me at, I would ask you to please not reach out on Facebook. I'm getting a huge number of requests on Facebook. That is an exceptionally difficult medium to do business on. So for us to track, hugely time consuming and not at all efficient. But the email for my office is mayor@clarington.net. Reach out to the email. I can't guarantee that we will get back to all of the emails because we are getting a significant number of suggestions. Some of them are really good suggestions. Some of them frankly, are just not doable. I can guarantee that we will look at each and every one of them and respond as we can. As you can imagine, we're getting a lot. And as time goes by and people get more bored and get more frustrated with the world around them, we know that the pace of that is just going to increase. But mayor@clarington.net, do reach out, please, with suggestions and ideas. And the last before questions come in is please stay safe and stay healthy. So that's me.
Thank you, Mayor Foster. That was a wonderful way for us to reconnect as a group. I know that there's a lot of things going on across the municipality, and we're all doing our best to work. So it's nice to know that our leadership is working alongside us and there for us when we need them. So thank you very much for agreeing to do this on the fly for us. So Adam, are you going to read the questions out? Is that how we're going to do that?
Yeah, I can do that, no problem. So our first question here, so it's from Chelsea. So my question is regarding reaching out to the vulnerable sector in the municipality of Clarington, seniors with no direct or local family to deliver groceries, medications, essentials, low-income families, caregivers at home with people with disabilities, and older adults with dementia and Alzheimer's with no longer having their home care or limited in-home care. What plans are in place to support these groups? What about having a list for the public of local businesses and organizations who are teaming up to assist vulnerable residents?
So the answer to that, part of that is what I referenced earlier: community care, who are looking for help and caremongers on that. We have a slight challenge. So for our clients in the older adults side, we are reaching out as best we can. But because we don't do health and we don't do social services, we're not necessarily aware of people who need help on that. Businesses who can, I would sort of put this back to the Board of Trade. If you guys have ideas on reaching out, run with that. But we're going to look at and we'll obviously share. I've got the contact information for, and I saw it come up on the screen for the Clarington East Food Bank. We can certainly get the information for caremongers, Feed the Need, and community care.
Okay, perfect. Jen had a question. Can I get a comment on Maple Fest being canceled?
Jen, I don't know. I mean, we're really disappointed that it had to be canceled. And I wish I could tell you that in a couple of weeks' time we're going to be back and going again. If we look at the timelines, and that's the best we can do because no one really knows where this is going. But if we look at the timelines, there are probably several weeks. The Premier, I think one of the reasons that the Premier is releasing the projections is to give us a sense of how long this is going on. But it's going to be a while and there are likely to be more cancellations. A good question that comes out of this, and this is for the community, this is for the business community, is what does the festival look like when we're out of this? So there's going to be huge pent-up demand. What are we going to be doing to get together? And the Paul Halliday, I'm thinking of you here in Probus and some of the other groups. Do we need to put a group of people together that are forward-looking in terms of what the celebration is, and again, kickstart the local economy and re-engage each other directly as opposed to digitally.
Okay, our next question is from John. He's asking, what financial support can businesses expect from Clarington?
Okay, so Trevor Pinn is on here. We are very restricted in terms of what we can do. Trevor, do you want to pick that one up?
Sure. Thank you, Your Worship. unfortunately, the Municipal Act very highly restricts what we can do with taxes. There's really only 5 opportunities that we can waive taxes and penalties, and they're very prescribed, typically to do with an error or a change in use or a fire or something like that happening. There are some opportunities for individuals that we may have, but as far as taxes for businesses or other financial support for businesses, the Municipal Act restricts us in being able to provide support directly because of bonusing rules. What we are looking at is working with the Region of Durham, CBOT, Chambers of Commerce, for ways in which we can provide support. Won't be necessarily directly for taxes, but ways in which we can provide support. I know that Region of Durham has provided or is providing funding to Chambers of Commerce to assist businesses accessing funding and programs from the province and the federal government. The province and the federal government have a lot more flexibility and ability to provide direct support to businesses than what the municipality does. And that's really all I can go into at this point.
Yeah, so I'll add that. So Durham Region's looking what they can do, and Durham again has has some restriction. Part of a challenge with Durham Region is there has been a lot of dialogue around a couple of $2 billion in reserves at Durham. I would like to tell you that there were $2 billion worth of discretionary resources available. There aren't. So the municipality in the region does have limited resources. It'll be interesting moving forward, and there are a number of questions coming up the province where we are not allowed to do deficit financing. We actually have a better credit rating than the province does. And it's a two-edged sword where we don't want to hobble ourselves in the future, because that only comes back in the way of future taxes. But to see if perhaps there are some changes in the legislation to allow us to have a more beneficial impact on the economy, because we are big players in that.
Your Worship, if I may, I just placed a link in the chat box for the Region of Durham's Economic Development COVID response page. There are some resources there for individuals who may wish to do that, or I'm sure Sheila and CBOT will have a link as well.
Yeah, we're here.
Perfect. So our next question is from Ashley. She said, I have read about some initiatives bringing tablets and laptops to permanent care facilities so they may virtually socialize with family. Has there been any word about any tablet donation programs in Clarington or a way to facilitate this?
So actually on that, again, and a lot of the questions that we'll come up with, particularly around health and whatnot, I haven't heard of that, but Clarington's not directly involved in the facility, so we wouldn't know on that. You could go to the region and ask at the ask of the region, or again for the independent businesses. That's something that Ashley you might want to reach out and see and organize, and there will be a theme. So I'm not trying to deflect, but we are getting a huge number of really good ideas that we simply can't undertake. So I would sort of put back to the community that if there's if there are things that you can do, please by all means pick up. If we can help, we can. But there are a lot of requests on us that we're simply not going to be able to satisfy, because they are so deep and so many.
Perfect. So our next question is regarding tax penalties and fees having been waived for 60 days as of now. Is there a plan in place or being developed for 90, 120 days, etc., from now for businesses like hospitality, tourism, that we will see a slow return to business once this is overdue to future events being canceled and travel restrictions?
So I'm going to let Trevor answer it, but my kick of the can is on that is we're playing this by ear. I think we were all more optimistic a couple of weeks ago as to how quickly this might pass. I think we're less optimistic today. So we're not saying no to anything at this point in time. I don't know that we can specifically address one sector or not. So Trevor, I'm going to leave that with you.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Oh,
thank you.
I was going to make a crack, Trevor, at your expense.
Oh, no, that's okay. So the answer to the question is typically our final bills for residents are due in June, and the first final installment for commercial businesses is in August. We have pushed back the June installment to July, and at this point, we would still have the ability, and we would look at it as needed if we need to do something with the August installment for commercial taxes. What we are doing, the local area treasurers are meeting weekly. We're working with the region because the region historically will act only if everybody else does the same thing. So we're trying to leverage what we do so that everybody is being treated equally throughout the region, and that we can do the same with the regional taxes. At this point, all we've done is the 60 days plus pushing the June installment out 30, but we would still have the ability to revise that for the August installment and September installment, but we really just don't know how long this is going to last. And what we don't want to do is push all the taxes to the last 3 months or last 2 months of the year, because that could be detrimental to residents and businesses as well. So we are still monitoring it, but we haven't committed to anything beyond what we've already done.
And that's a good point, Trevor. We had discussed this the other day, as we do need to hear from the province and the region, because about a third of your tax bill is Clarington. So the educational portion and the regional portion, we all need to be working in lockstep on that.
Right, and all the taxes are collected by the municipality, and what happens is we remit that portion to the province as well as the region. But if there is a shortfall in collection, we have to fund that. We still have to remit based on our timelines, regardless if the funds have been collected. So that's why we're trying to work with the region as well as the province, so that if there's deferral in one area, that there's a similar deferral in others, so that one level of government is not strapped for funding.
So Trevor, the second part was for hospitality, that makes it for business that is going to lag in getting revenues flowing again. Do we have the ability to recognize? I think hospitality was suggested. Do we have the ability to recognize that hospitality may take a couple of months longer than retail? I'm not saying that that's the case or not, and help out those businesses that are a little bit slower getting off the ground?
Unfortunately, the Municipal Act requires that taxes be levied on similar properties equally. So a commercial property is treated the same regardless of what industry it's in. So the due dates would be the same. I can't say hospitality is a different day than manufacturing. We will be looking at ways, alternative ways, working with the region of Durham, CBOT, our economic development partners, to see if there's ways that we can provide support. Or again, we would have the ability to come back with the penalties and interest waiver. That may be something that we can look at. But again, that would be available to all businesses, would not be specific to any one industry. And part of the issue with that, Mayor Foster, is that we just don't have the information at the municipality for what each property does. We know it's commercial, we know it's industrial, but we don't necessarily know if it is in our tax system, we wouldn't know if it's a a restaurant or a travel agency or any of those other types of industries. We just don't have that information. So that's one of the reasons why anything that we do will be more broad based.
Okay, we have a question here from Angie. She's just asking, do you know if there will be exceptions for facilities that have been closed, for example, like special cleaning? If so, will the municipality be able to support with this via either resources or funds?
I guess a quick answer is, well, we'll certainly consider it. So Angie, I'm guessing it's Angie Darlinson. Will we be able to provide additional funding to make sure that that the older adults or whatever center is set and ready to go? Angie asked us. We are going to have to, and Trevor, I'm sure, is squirming a little bit now, but that's okay. We're going to have a challenge with resources available on our side as well. I don't know, but it's worth an ask.
I think we have a question here. Just what is the latest update with education? And if you could comment on that.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Sorry, there was just a question about the latest update with education. So I'm not sure if you guys will be able to touch on that one, but
yeah,
that's not taxes.
Yeah. So on the education, sorry, we're at the mercy of the province on that. So we're not part of the decision making. I don't know what the interesting question. I don't know what the school boards are put up, or frankly, what engagement the province has with the school board. That's entirely provincial.
okay. So we have another question here. Is there a plan being developed to sanitize and disinfect community public facilities and space inside and outside, as it is unknown how long the virus can live on different surfaces?
So yes. So if you're in the town hall, for example, right now, we've got staff literally circling the building several times a day, sanitizing. So we're all interested in keeping ourselves and everyone around us safe. And right now in the arenas, so maintenance is going on in the arenas and sanitization. We are quite focused on that. So on the indoor stuff, yes. On the outdoor stuff, one of the reasons that the playgrounds were shut down is you're right. We don't know how long it will last. Although, and I can't give you, and I'm not going to give any advice on this. I think if you look at stuff out of the World Health Organization or the Center for Disease Control, it does not appear that this thing can live for extended. When I say extended, weeks at a time. I'd encourage you to take a look at credible resources. Again, World Health Organization or CDC.
Perfect. So we have a comment here, but maybe I'll try and make a question out of it. Just regarding municipal contracts during this time for local businesses. I don't know if there's maybe a comment you can maybe make on that, Adrian.
Well, so as I've mentioned earlier, and we are, the Board of Trade will be a wonderful opportunity to take suggestions, or if people have suggestions on how we can help. And I will be on a conference call a little bit later today with the MPPs, the MPs, as well as the BIA. So we're doing this regularly on Fridays to hear from business. That's the first part of that, and to get to the province and the federal government the information that they need on that. But we are very cognizant that not all businesses are created equally. So as I've mentioned earlier, if there is a way that we can let contracts earlier, if there's stuff, and I don't know what the answer is, but we're certainly looking at it. If there are supplies and services that we know that we're going to need, and that might be the difference of a business existing or not. We're restricted in terms of preferential purchasing, but let us know if you've got a solution and something that we can do, we're in. You know, we really want to support you guys and want to make sure that when we're at the other end of this thing, that things get back to business as, I was going to say business as usual. It's not going to be, but we, you know, we want to come out of this as unscathed as possible.
Okay, so just a quick question here. Just what type of support will there be for businesses once this is all over? You know, there's been a lot of businesses that have had to close and struggling to stay afloat, who will have some struggle kind of getting back to normal once this is all over. So is there anything that the municipality is doing to help support in that?
I think, and I'll let Trevor roll into this. So again, I think we've sort of answered that on the tax, that in terms of direct financial assistance, we are exceptionally limited at this point. And I'm going to come back again to the suggestion that, you know, as much as, you know, what does the party look like? And when I'm talking about party, the party is, you know, how do we bring everyone back together? How do we promote business? Is there, you know, a huge festival? What does it look like on the other end of this? So we're going to be looking for suggestions on how to do that within the restrictions that we need to work with. So we, Trevor, correct me if I'm wrong, we can defer the payments, and, you know, and that's a challenge unto itself because it is simply a deferral, but that's as far as we go, and we do have restrictions. The region's similar restrictions, maybe a little bit less, but then the question comes down to the province and the federal government. And we are more than happy during these Friday meetings, and I'm in touch, you know, with our federal and provincial reps throughout the week as well. More than happy to bring suggestions to them. So Trevor, am I wrong in suggesting that unless rules are changed now, what we're going to be able to do is sort of limited to what we're doing now, outside of purchasing and carrying forward with that?
That's correct. One thing that we are looking at doing to, not to say get around the rules, but to support residents and businesses indirectly, is in the report that will be coming to council is a proposal to create or enhance the community grant program that we've run for a number of years, partially to help nonprofit organizations with residents, but as well, part of the proposal that will be in front of council would be to open that up to businesses as well. So to try and support those that can support the community.
Can I just jump in there?
We can't directly support businesses, as I mentioned.
I'm going to save you here, Trevor.
Yeah.
So I just want to remind everybody that the municipality entrusts us to help support the business community. And so we are working diligently from our homes, welcome to my dining room, to make sure that we're reaching out. So far, we've reached out to over 200 businesses and having those conversations. What do you need? I think, you know, from the ActDev team, we can say that, you know, we've identified that there's a hole in the boat, right? But our role is to make sure that we're looking forward to what recovery looks like. And so in the next week or two, you're going to see some programming and some conversations being had. So if we haven't had a chance to reach out to you yet and you have something to share with us, please just call. The office phone is directed back to my house, so you will get a hold of us. And you know, sometimes help is more than financial. So we're here to help in whatever way we can, and trust that we are talking to the province every day to try and find ways to make sure that Clarington's business community is part of the solution wherever it can be.
Sheila, that's a really good point, and I'd encourage people not to be bashful. Take the time, because some of you guys will have phenomenal ideas that we have not come up with.
Mm-hmm.
And truly coming out of this, everyone understands the smack that the economy is taking, is going to take, and everyone, as I mentioned earlier, we're working in lockstep with the province. We all understand that we need to be part of a solution if we don't want a significant recession, if we don't want a depression, and to see things swing back as quickly as possible. So, so share your thoughts and ideas, because I know that there are brilliant ideas out there.
And I think we have Councillor Hooper who's just going to comment on the BIA. Ron, I've unmuted you.
You have. Thank you very much. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. No, I'd just like to let everyone know that I've been sitting in on conference calls with the Ontario BIAA, which is sort of the voice of all BIAs across Ontario. Yesterday, I sat on a conference call. Basically, it was about admin items that we were talking about there for the BIAs, but all across Ontario, they're dealing with this huge impact to small business. And I'll say that, like I said in one of the quotes that I put in the chat line there, small business is being impacted daily. Every day that they're not open, there's no money coming in. And there's some great ideas. I think somebody talked about Peterborough's got something in place that they're doing there. And like the mayor said, if anybody has any good suggestions into how we can sort of get back on track when this all ends, we greatly appreciate it. I think it was Ashley reached out to as well, and if you want to give me a call, Ashley, call me or send me an email, ronhooper@bellnet.ca. I'd be glad to chat with you in regards to that. There's a lot of unfortunately, there's a lot of people that may not open up after this is all over, and the Ontario BIAA is trying to deal with those situations too. They have been a wealth of information. I've been reaching out to all the BIAs because we are a member. Some of the other, like BIAs in Clarington, are not members of the OBIAA, but there's no walls as far as we're concerned. And same thing with the Board of Trade. We've been sort of filtering all the information to the Board of Trade, so that they're pushing it out, as well as I believe the mayor's office is pushing out the information that we're getting from the OBIAA. And there's actually another counselor from Timmins that sits on the BIA as well. So I'm hearing information in regards to what Mr. Pinn is saying in regards to taxing and how that's going to work out too. So it's very interesting information. I'd just like to say, and this is a great forum to get that information out and talk to everybody around the table. So thank you, Sheila and the Mayor, for doing this.
You're welcome.
Well, and Ron, the information that you're bringing has been great into those Friday meetings as well. It's appreciated.
Thank you.
So it looks like we have about 10 minutes left. I'm not seeing any other questions. So a gentleman from Enbridge, I think has a comment about what they're doing kind of, I guess, to help support businesses in this time. So I'll unmute them.
Good afternoon, Your Worship. Hello, everybody in Durham and Clarington. Thank you very much for the opportunity to join your call. I've been using Zoom pretty consistently for the past couple of weeks. It's a great tool. It's wonderful to see faces and see that everybody's making huge efforts to work from home. Certainly at Enbridge, we have about 16,000 people in our company, and over 10,000 of us are currently working from home across North America. And the first thing I wanted to share with you is that I just wanted to reassure you that the energy transportation in Ontario is secure. We are an essential service, obviously, and we have taken extreme precautions to keep our field staff out in the real world, maintaining our pipelines, ensuring that natural gas and oil flows across Ontario to meet the needs of people in Clarington and everywhere else. So rest assured that the heat will continue and the lights will be on, and there will be gasoline at the gas stations. So that's one thing. I also wanted to say, Your Worship, that I've listened intently today, and I've heard you say a number of things about possible ways that Enbridge can help. And I want you all to know that Enbridge is going to help. We've started that process already. Last week, $7,000 was transmitted to the United Way Foundation in Durham Region. Mr. Mayor, I heard you speak about the needs of the food bank. I will follow up immediately, and I mean that today, with your local food banks to see what we can do to support them. It's always a challenge. Everyone across the nation is dealing with it. The needs are the same everywhere. And we're doing our best as a company and as a corporate citizen to support you. If there are things of particular need, immediate need, and I'm speaking really to financial assistance at this point, if there's something that's just there that you need help with, I would please ask you to reach out to me. Mayor Foster knows how to get a hold of me. We speak on a fairly regular basis about what the company does. But please think of Enbridge if there are things that we can do even with our people. We do have hundreds of people in the area. And if there's something I can do to help assist, I just want you to let me know. So thanks very much. Again, I appreciate the opportunity to join you today. It was very thoughtful of Jenna to invite me. And thanks again, and keep doing the great work that you're doing, because we will get through this together.
Thank you ever so much for that.
Is Jenny on the line?
I think she had to leave us, unfortunately.
So I think that in the interest of time, I'm looking at my TV in the corner over there, and it looks like we're missing the Premier's announcement here. Yes, he got
Suggested 1:30 is what we had heard, but oh well.
I know, but I guess he's like in a hurry.
Wait, you got me and you want to hear the Premier?
Well, no, I'm going to give you a chance to have maybe the second last word.
Okay, so second last word, a couple of requests. I'm looking at my notes from Tuesday. I did the Bowmanville Rotary, and in Tuesday, New York had 67,000 cases. Today, my understanding is they're just under 100,000. So to give you an idea of how quickly this thing is going, and again, to reinforce the social distancing, and do it in a polite but firm fashion. If we don't do that, this thing will drag on for weeks longer than it has to. So for every business that wants to get back to business, do the social distancing. And, if you're, I was going to say mother-in-law, but you'll just get in more trouble. But, if there are people that aren't doing that, please make them understand that they are putting many lives at risk, and they are making the economic misery go on longer and longer with that. Here's a weird request for you. So if you're following my Facebook page, I'm trying to get as much humor up as information. Share humorous stuff because in the weeks ahead, we're going to need more and more of that. I do have a questionable sense of humor, so feel free. My wife will suggest I'm not funny at all. I think she's wrong, but share. For all that you are doing, thank you.
TU capacity is a good measure for us. If you don't have the slide, what this
I have no idea where that came from.
Me either.
I think that was
Okay.
that was unmuted.
I'm actually, so Matt Anderson is our former CEO of Lakeridge Health is actually on the TV screen now. So I want to thank everybody for joining us today. As I said, this was an experiment for us, and Mayor Foster, thank you for letting us use you as the guinea pig on whether or not we could pull this off. I'm excited that we did pull it off, and so we're going to ask you to watch for more. Mayor Foster alluded, we've got Chair Anderson, oh boy. Chair Henry from the region of Durham has agreed to do the same kind of format next Friday. We're working on some programming, so we're going to try and do this on Tuesdays. We're going to bring you a little bit of education. So next Tuesday, myself and a couple of our members who have great advice about working from home, because it's new for most of us. We're gonna talk a little bit about how to be effective at home, how to be data safe at home, and how to be a good employer and empower your people at home. And so Tuesdays, we're going to try and educate you. Fridays, we're going to bring insight from the communities. And we hope you continue to join us. Please give us your feedback on this, what worked, what didn't work for you, so that by the time we roll this out again next Tuesday, we can fix some of the glitches if there were some. I see my fearless leader is back on the screen there, Jenny Knox. If you would like to have the last word, I will relinquish that to you.
Wow. I'm going to pay for that, aren't I?
Yes.
Thanks, everybody. Just trying to figure out which, sorry, there's some pop-up, so I can't see you anymore there. I just wanted to reiterate what Sheila said. These are challenging and unique times for all of us. And I think it's essential that we recognize that not everybody has the answers. And as society, we're all moving through this and learning together. And so as business owners, and for those representing not-for-profits and charitable organizations in Clarington, it's essential that we stay connected, but that everyone recognize that we each play a part in making sure that Clarington comes out of this as strong as we went into it. And so what I have said to Sheila is our goal from a Board of Trade and Economic Development perspective needs to be that we come out of this with just as many businesses as we went into it with, or more, let's be optimistic, but that we make sure that we are absolutely there for each other, and that businesses are there for businesses, and that businesses are enabled through these various solutions being provided by multiple levels of government, that businesses are able to be there to continue to support our not-for-profit and our charitable organizations that really do make our community as strong as it is. And so in closing there, I would just say that if there is anybody on the call today who has ideas of how we need to come together to enable those solutions, if there are organizations on this call who are really challenged on any front, to feed that back to the Board of Trade staff. If there are businesses that are challenged on dealing with this from a COVID front, certainly the mayor and the municipality have worked their way through addressing the logistics of it. I can say that from Ontario Power Generation's perspective, we have also been doing the same, and I know that that both organizations would be pleased to share any lessons learned from an organizational perspective on how to keep our workplaces safe for those essential service providers who have to continue going into the workplace. And finally, I would just like to say thank you to everyone. For many of us, I think it was our first Zoom, and it sure is nice to see some familiar faces after 3 weeks of seeing nothing but cows. And so thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you to Adam and Tanya and Bonnie and others for facilitating getting this meeting going. But keep the communication flows going. It's difficult to understand what challenges are being faced when we're not able to see each other face to face. So let's rely on keeping the lines of communications open. That's it for me. Thanks, everyone.
Be safe.
Thanks, Adam. Bye.
Bye.